start over. Okay, and sir, what is your name?
Sam Oser, O-S-E-R.
And your address is 149 Cambridge G, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33417.
You've got it.
Phone number is 561-689-3974.
Absolutely.
Sam, where were you born?
The Bronx, New York.
And when is your birthday?
March 14th, 1926.
Okay, and who's your next of kin? Any next of kin?
My son and daughter.
Okay. What's your son's first name?
Brad.
And your daughter's first name?
Julie.
Okay. What branch of service were you in?
United States Marine Corps.
And what war did you serve in?
World War II.
What theater? What
Pacific.
theater? Pacific. And were you commissioned, enlisted, or were you drafted?
I enlisted.
What were your service dates? From what year to what year did you serve?
Well, I was sworn in April 6, 1944.
And when did you get out?
I got out, I think it was possibly the end of 46, early 47. I was in for about 3 3/4 years. The war was over.
Gotcha. What was your highest rank?
Pardon me?
What was your highest rank?
Corporal.
Okay, what unit, division, battalion, group, ship, what?
I was the Marine Air Corps.
And okay, so it was World War II,
Absolutely.
and it was the Japanese, I guess.
Yes, it was.
Okay, what was the location of your military service?
Hawaii, the island of Oahu, where Barack Obama was born.
And okay, so what specific battles or campaigns do you remember any of that?
I was in a headquarters squadron on the island of Oahu. I was a radio operator.
My dad was a radio operator.
Was he?
Okay, what do you remember your medals and service awards?
No, I don't. I didn't receive any medals.
Okay, were you a prisoner of war?
No.
Good, thank you. Thank God. Did you have any combat or service-related injuries?
No.
Okay. Excuse me. Okay. Where were you living at the time you went into the service?
Bronx, New York.
Okay. All right, why did you say you were drafted?
No, I enlisted.
You enlisted, yeah. Why? Why did you join the Marines?
Well, going back, I'm guessing time I was about 14 years old, I understood, if not fully, I understood what was going on over in Europe with Nazi Germany marching through all of Europe. I was about 14, and then of course when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, I felt the Japanese were tied in with the Nazis. I feel they had an agreement the Japanese would take control of the Pacific, and I was really nervous about the Nazis because I'm Jewish and they're killing everybody, and I felt they had taken over France. I felt they surely would go to England, but they didn't. If they went to England, I felt, and they were there, because they did have sympathizers in England. I felt they would make a move on the United States.
Right.
So I joined the Marine Corps, and, because I thought in fighting the Japanese, I was fighting the Nazis also. When I was about 14, as a matter of fact, I went down to Manhattan, which was another part of New York City. There was a big department store there. And at Lexington Avenue, and I guess it was 86th Street, there was a big department store. And at that time, I'm about 14, walking around the streets, and it was legal. About 4 or 5 tall men in Nazi uniforms with the Nazi thing on it. I didn't want to start anything. I'm 14, but it left something with me.
Right.
That area
Made an
was
impression.
called Germantown at the time. That made the Germans there, but that didn't mean they were all Nazis. It's just a few.
Right.
But it left me with an impression. And I graduated from high school. I was 16 and a half, and because of the Great Depression, that stayed with me. So I didn't go to college. I went to work because I felt I had to make some money. When I was 18, 3 weeks later, I joined the Marine Corps because something about the Marine Corps that appealed to me. And so I went to the Marine Corps and finally went to Hawaii and was there until the war was over.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the interview. My name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the executive director for the Children's Coalition Incorporated, and it's just Sam and I here today at Sam's home. Okay. You remember when you first went into service? What did it feel like in boot camp, and what was your training experience?
Well, boot camp was really something because it was thorough training, but I had to laugh because the IDs, the teachers, the fellows who were training us, said, "You're not a Marine until you finish training. Then you can say you're a Marine." But they were good people, and we went through all kinds of training. We never ended up. We certainly didn't know where we were going. Where they decided you were going to go, that's where you went.
Okay.
So in those days, it was 8 weeks of training rather than 12 that I think they have now, because the war was going on and they needed the men
Quickly.
very quickly.
Gotcha. Okay. So exactly where did you go in Hawaii?
The island of Oahu.
Mm-hmm. And do you remember arriving? What was that like? And your job assignment, you already told me. Can you tell me about it, though, being a radio operator?
Well, actually, I was assigned to a headquarters squadron as a radio operator. And in those days, it was all, I'm forgetting the word, beep, 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 beep.
Morse code.
Morse, thank you very much. At 92.
It's okay.
So it was Morse code and so on. I went up a couple of times on a B-26 looking for submarines.
The plane, in the bomber.
Yeah.
Isn't that a bomber?
The B-26 was a smaller bomber. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Looking for submarines, huh?
Well, we looked for submarines or make sure that we weren't going to be attacked again.
Okay.
Because when I was there, I went over to where they were bombing Hawaii. I'm forgetting words, but that's okay. I also forgetting that I don't have hair, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. Oh, we're both in the same boat on that, Sam. So don't let that get you down. All right. So, on the bomber, what'd you do on the bomber? Were you still doing Morse code or sending messages, or?
It wasn't necessary. We were just looking
Okay.
as to what we were saying.
Were there many casualties in your unit?
No. Not that I know of.
Okay, gotcha. Well, okay, so tell me about a couple of the most memorable experiences that you had while you were on active duty in the Pacific Theater.
Well, I think toward the end of the war, got a message from a fellow I trained with. There were other fellows with me who were also in the part of my group, actually, in Hawaii. But this fellow notified us, he was a radio operator. His plane was coming in from New Zealand,
Right.
and we made arrangements for all of us to meet. And we were still under 20, maybe 18. We were not supposed to drink, but we decided to go into town. And asking me what I remember, I want to tell you folks, I think that was the last drink I ever took in my life. I got so sick, you have no idea. And I can remember they wanted to get me into some hotel there. They took me to a little dive, I say, and they were going to register at the desk. But we found, looked up, and some Navy guy somebody had pushed him down the stairs. I think they had robbed him and pushed him down the stairs.
God.
And we decided to get the heck out of that place. And there was some lieutenant in a Jeep. He picked us up and took us back to the base. So that's one thing I shall never forget. And I really, I don't enjoy liquor that much.
Okay. 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 So, were you awarded any medals anyway?
No.
No, none, nothing.
No.
Come on, it had to be something.
No, the
Good
only thing
conduct.
is when you're discharged,
Yeah.
you know, the president sent you a message, how nice and grateful. And,
Who's the president at that time?
well,
You remember?
I think that I think Roosevelt. I couldn't vote, by the way, until I was 21
Okay.
in those days.
Yeah.
So it was either Roosevelt or who was right?
Truman?
Huh? Or Truman. It was Truman.
Truman. Okay.
Truman. It was Truman.
All right. Okay. So, wait. Okay. So you never had it. Nobody was ever shooting at you, huh?
No, nobody was shooting at me.
Good. How did you stay in touch with your family?
By mail.
Okay. Okay. Was that pretty frequent?
I would guess every couple of weeks, yes.
Good. Good. How was the food?
Well, I did a lot of mess duty. I will tell you that. In some cases, the food was pretty good. Well, wasn't bad. You know.
Did you have all the supplies that you needed?
Yes.
You did? Good. That's great. Okay. All right. Did you feel any pressure or stress?
No, I didn't. I felt really I wanted to get involved either in the Philippines or wherever we were fighting. I don't think a lot of us felt, hey, let us go, but they wanted us to stay. The Marine Corps tells you what to do, you do it.
Right.
But I felt a little bit guilty that I wanted to be in the middle of the fight.
You wanted to fight? Yeah. I understand that. Okay. Where did you travel while you were in the service? Besides, you traveled to Hawaii. Where else did you go?
That was it.
Where was basic training at?
Basic training was at Paris Island.
In California?
No, Paris Island down in South Carolina.
Oh, in the Carolinas. Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking.
South Carolina.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And then I was stationed at Cherry Point.
What'd you do there?
Oh well, that's where you get. I was there, and from there they shipped me up to a Navy base, up in Sampson, New York, and that's where they taught us to be radio operators.
Oh, okay. How long were you there?
6 months.
What'd you do when you were on leave? You went on leave, right?
I guess we was on leave basically in Hawaii. Oh no, also Sampson, New York. I went back into New York,
All right.
saw the family, and matter of fact, I brought somebody, a buddy of mine. I think he was from South Carolina, North Carolina, and took him to New York. He had never been there.
Right.
Showed him around New York. I think we had a week's leave or 2 weeks, and then went back. And pretty much after that, they sent us from. They shipped us out from not Paris Island was training,
Right.
but from Cherry Point, North Carolina.
Okay. On a plane or boat?
Oh, they sent us out on a train.
Oh, on a train.
Yeah, and going to California,
Yeah.
San Diego.
Okay.
And it took us 5 days to get there.
Exactly.
I called it the Tonyville Trolley, but they were stopping.
You called it the what?
The Tonyville Trolley. Took us 5 days, but they were stopping in between.
Of course.
But one of the things I remember, the trains getting down south would stop for some reason or other. Somehow the guys knew there were farming areas, and they knew the areas where the farmers were planting watermelon. So they got off the train, as I remember, and they were bringing back watermelons, and that was a picnic on the train, you know.
Right, yeah.
So, we did all right. We all got together, and everybody knew they should be friends, and we went on.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So you got to see the country by train, huh?
By train, yeah.
Did you go along the southern route or across the north to Southern California?
Southern route.
Okay.
I don't remember. I just looked out the window and
Scenery kept changing.
yeah.
I get it. Beautiful. Okay. So you said you went on leave while you were in Hawaii. Where'd you go?
I went into town. I'm forgetting the name of Honolulu.
Oh, okay.
It's funny when you 92, I'm going to 93. You miss words, and all of a sudden they pop back into your head.
I get it.
So I'm glad I took a haircut. So it pops.
Okay. Good. So you island hopped from
Yes.
Oahu to Honolulu.
Honolulu.
Yeah. What
We
was
saw
that? Go
we
ahead.
saw
What was
where the
Honolulu?
bombing was. When the Japs came in and bombed Honolulu, bombed the whole damn place.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember the war had ended, and they had, in those days, they had pineapple trees all over the place,
Right.
and wires, telephone wires or whatever it is, that's all these trees. So they sent us, a group of us all over in a truck to take down the wires and so on.
Right.
So I don't remember too much of that. Just we did what we were told to do, and there were a lot of wires up there, and a lot of pineapple trees. So
Those are the only two islands you went to? Was Oahu and Honolulu? Or did
well,
you-
Honolulu is part of Oahu.
Oh, they're connected. They're the same.
That's the city. It's town.
Honolulu is a city on Oahu.
On Oahu.
Now I get it. Okay.
That's where Obama was born.
Where?
In Hawaii, on the island of Oahu.
Okay.
That's a
In
picture.
Honolulu?
Yeah, that's
I
a,
see him there with you.
yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like I'm ready to shoot him, but actually we were kidding around with each other.
Right.
He was a good guy, and he's a brilliant guy.
Yeah. We'll take that photo and put it on the end of the
Okay.
the video. Not a problem. Okay. So now let's see. All right. So what was it? Where were you when you separated from the service?
I'm trying to think. I think they brought us back to San Diego, and then they sent us up to Chicago
By train?
by train.
Okay.
So we got on. That's where we got discharged. I'm trying to remember back, and
Okay.
that was the deal there.
Did you spend any time in San Diego or California?
No, when we got there, I had thought they'd give us a couple of days of liberty and
Right.
be able to go in.
No.
Well, they got rid of us right away.
Yeah. The responsibility. I get it.
Well, we had a war going on,
Right. Yeah. This is true.
and not sure that we learned too much. We did what we had to do.
Okay, you're going to have an opportunity at the end to do some other commentary. Okay, so you separated in Chicago.
Yeah, we got our discharge in Chicago, and that gave us train tickets to go back to wherever we came from. And in my case, it was New York.
Okay, so when you went back home, did you work or did you go back to school?
No, I went back to work
Okay.
immediately.
Did you use the GI Bill ever for school?
No, I should have, but I didn't.
Did you use it to buy a home or anything?
No.
No? All right. There you go. Did you make any close friends while you were in the service?
There's one fellow in particular. I just show you the picture. He was on the picture. We became close friends,
Okay.
and we were friendly. All of us were friendly.
Right.
We all were pretty darn strong,
Okay.
and I wouldn't want to take a punch at any one of them, and I think they felt the same thing about me.
Right. I got you. All right. Let's see. Okay. Did you continue those friendships going into the future?
No, we
No.
were all
Separated?
spread out, separated,
Okay.
went on with our lives.
Have you belonged to any veterans organizations?
No,
No. All right.
too busy working.
So what did you do, or go on to do as a career after the military?
I went back to work for this company I worked at before I went into the service, and it was a time of the beginning of television.
Right.
So I went to work for them in their stockroom, and eventually I was there for a while. I headed up the stockroom. This is manufacturing. We were manufacturing television sets. And then I went up to see the vice president. I said, hey, I want to move up. I don't want to stay where I am. And a month later, he said, stay where you are right now. I'll see what I can do. A month later, I got word he wanted to see me. They promoted me into the purchasing department.
Okay.
And that's where I really learned my trade of being a good buyer, eventually working my way up into 2 or 3 other companies. I became the head buyer of a big company out on Long Island who manufactured vending machines. And I was their purchasing director of all materials. I was in charge of all materials from the time that it came off the engineering department till the vending machine came off the production line. I was in charge of all of that, and I really learned my trade, and I think I did one hell of a good job. I was a good purchasing agent, and I learned a lot about management also. And the one thing I knew, I tried to teach people who worked for me. One thing I learned, you don't try and knock people down. You try to pick them up. Teach them what you know. And in some cases where I couldn't get them a raise in salary, I would tell them to work for me, but don't tell anybody about it. In the meantime, look for a job that would pay you more money. And if I heard of one, I would let you know. Don't tell anybody about it. But I wanted them to rise like I rose, and I did pretty well finally.
Right. Okay. All right. I got a couple of closing questions. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Well, I think it's important that we have a good military. It's been so long, it's amazing to me all the new things, items that you use in the military. I mean, it's so fantastic of what we could do, or any country could do now, on a military standpoint. And that's any country, big and small. And it worries me as to what will be going on from this point on. Leadership in many countries, including our own, I find is lacking, and in many cases on both sides of the aisle. So that worries me, because being 92, going on 93, so many good things have happened since Roosevelt. People moving on, voting rights, women's rights, people's rights, black-white race. That's one thing I don't understand.
What is that?
We all have the same brain.
Oh.
I don't have to tell you you're black, and you're not. I know that. We are people. And if you're, I may not be terribly religious. I know my background, and that's fine. But people were brought here, or the earth was created for peace and to help each other. To not like somebody because of color or religion, or it's stupidity. And anybody who's religious, how could you believe with anything but why you're here? It's to be a peaceful earth. And what's going on today bothers me more than any other time in my lifetime, and there have been serious problems before, and unfortunately too many wars. I could go on for a long time with what I think, but the future can be so great from a scientific knowledge of the sky, the water, the earth, everything. I mean, it's so fantastic. I can't believe the genius of people. And that's one of the things we have to know about. I'm not very happy with our so-called leader today. He's not my leader. You want me to go further than that? I can't.
You just go ahead. If you have something you want to say, go ahead.
Well, I have followed this guy for a long time. His father taught him how to be a crook. And as far as I'm concerned, he's a male whore. You can tell him I said so.
Okay.
But we have so much to look forward to, scientifically and so on. And I get the greatest kick out of seeing young people married with their little ones, 2 or 3 years old, walking to the store with them or whatever. And now I am a great-grandfather. And I have pictures I'm looking at my family. And so, and the way I am now, what I have now, I'm satisfied. And I was at the VA in 2017 for about 9 months. The last 6 months, they thought I was going to die, but I fooled them. And I loved the aides. I loved them all up there. I got friendly with them, especially the last 6 months. I was paralyzed for a while, but they were so great to me, the aides. And many of them were from Haiti. They were little older women. The one thing they made sure of, their children went to school, and they all were registered to vote. And they were all married, and I used to propose to all of them. And they'd say, I'm married. And I'd say, I don't care. And they laugh, and I would laugh. There's some other stories, but I can't tell you that.
That's okay.
But I will tell you one story.
What's that?
My crazy sense of humor, which I developed over the last year or two, because I really felt, my days were numbered. And I spoke to my son. He came in. I told him where everything was, and I want to be buried in the military cemetery here, because they only gave me a month to live, actually. So he came in. He said, "Dad," he said, "I arranged everything for you." He said, it's going to cost about $9,000. I said, "What, are you crazy? $9,000 to be buried?" He said, "Yeah." He said, I didn't realize that much money. I said, "Put me in the grave for that's crazy." He said, "Dad, I think I saved you $1,000. Big deal." He said, "Dad, what would you have done?" "Well, if it was me," I said, "I would look for another couple whose either husband or son was about my size, my weight, and, height, everything. We were about the same. But I said, the same damn box. Bumper to bumper, $4,500 for them, $4,500 for me." He said, "You're crazy." I said, "I know, you're right."
So I got one more question for you.
Yeah, I have another story for you if you're interested.
Oh, go ahead.
The age was so wonderful for me, and I couldn't walk, so they showered you. This is at the VA. They were wonderful. This VA is one of the best in the country.
Yeah.
But they would wash me all over. Shower me all over while I was sitting down. Everything, and between my legs down there, and wash me around, so on. And I would say to them, "Do me a favor. If you find that thing down there, let me know where it is, because I can't find it anymore."
Okay.
I don't think you can publish that, but... Well, my experience through life started when I was about 5.5 years old in the Bronx. It was summertime, and I was going to go back to school in 2 weeks into the first grade. I was in the playground.
You know what I asked you, right?
Huh?
I asked you, how did your service and how did your experiences in the service affect your life?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It affected my life because I didn't take advantage of what was offered to me. I went back to work rather than going to college. For me, that was a big mistake. And other factors in life that took hold. I was separated at the time, but I always made sure that my children were taken care of. I always worked. My ex-wife, who was not a bad person, she never missed a check. And today my children are doing great, and they have families, and I'm proud of them. But the service affected me, getting back to the service, because I have had things happen over the last 10 or 12 years. And the VA has been actually wonderful. And because I was in the service, I have the VA. And the year of 2017, I was up there for a total of about 9 months out of the year.
Right.
The last 6 months, especially, I was paralyzed. That had happened a couple of times for a few days. But I was paralyzed for about 3 months. And they were so great to me, and still are. And the people working there were just absolutely great. And one of the things I do, frankly, because I felt I wanted to do something, there's some programs on television like Lawrence Welk, they're musical programs, singing, dancing, and so on. So about every 2 or 3 months, I buy 2 or 3 of their programs, and I send it up to the VA, because there are people up there, that's where they're going to live for the rest of their lives. They don't have arms, they don't have legs. and they can't be taken care of. So I felt these programs might give them an hour of being able to laugh or enjoy it rather. It stays with me. One of the things when I was up there, I was in a wheelchair. I walk with a walker now. That's my money.
Right.
One of the things, if you pass somebody else who was in a wheelchair, another veteran, he may not have leg or arm or whatever, always thumbs up. How you doing, buddy? You don't even know him. May not see him again. But every one of them up there, they realized, how you doing, buddy? So there's some fantastic things. Most people give a chance, they're fantastic. There's a difference. People, various religions, but how the heck can they possibly believe in the God that they believe in if they're damning somebody else? That's not what your God wants. I guess I could go into many stories that I forgot about,
That's okay.
but one of the things that people should understand, because everybody has their hurt that they can't share with anybody else. And you got to remember that. The things they can tell you, but people hurt. I've developed a silly sense of humor, and if I can make somebody laugh or do something good for somebody, that's made my day. I have my own problems, but, this morning I was sick, as a matter of fact. But that's me. I mean, feel for the other person.
You get it?
I could go on and on and on.
Thanks, Sam. I want to thank you for a great interview, and I want to thank you for your service. Thank you very much.
Well, I thank you.